Axios is reporting that William Barr and Donald Trump certainly do not like each other. There's been quite a bit of drama behind the scenes, which of course bubbled over to the public's view. And this might just be our very last edition of As the White House Turns.
Made some very big mistakes.
I asked for his resignation.
I'm disappointed in the Attorney General.
So allow me to preface this by saying that William Barr gets no credit for anything. He is an awful person who certainly had no problem enabling Donald Trump from the beginning, but then he realized that he had enabled a monster. He had created a monster and was suffering the consequences of that. And for former Attorney General William Barr, who has since stepped down as Attorney General, the last straw for him was when Trump kept repeating unfounded claims of widespread voter fraud. In fact, Axios reports that Trump had angrily at one point dragged Barr in to explain himself after seeing a breaking AP story all over Twitter with the headline, quote, "Disputing Trump, Barr says no widespread election fraud." But Barr was not backing down, Axios says. The president's theories about a stolen election, Barr told Trump, were BS. The Attorney General threw in a warning that the new legal team Trump was betting his future on was clownish. So Ryan, talk to me. What do you think about this? I don't want to rehab William Barr's reputation, right, but yeah.
Well, I mean, it should have been, the final piece of evidence that Trump's supporters needed, that Bill Barr wasn't willing to go along with this. Barr did more than any attorney general, ever in the modern era to try to insulate his president from liability for anything that he had done to try to expand his power, to defend him on every front. In fact, he even tried to get the Justice Department to defend Trump in some of his personal cases, which the federal courts eventually didn't allow, but he tried it. Bill Barr has had this extremely kind of extremist view of presidential power in the United States, and given the chance to be Attorney General again, tried to put into place this almost monarchic view that he has of how much power the executive ought to have. So he tried to do everything he could for Trump, but at some point he's like, look, no, this is too far. And yet Trump's supporters still stuck with him.
Yeah, and for me, this is less about Trump supporters and more about William Barr and whether or not at this stage in his life, he's had an incredibly important awakening regarding our system of government and why we have these co-equal branches that are supposed to serve as checks and balances, right? Like he wanted to really solidify and increase the power of the executive branch. And I know what I'm about to ask you can only lead to a speculative answer, but do you think that maybe he's had a little bit of a change of heart in that regard?
I highly doubt it, because I think support of a monarchy, support of an autocrat is an entirely coherent ideology. It like we were talking about in the last segment, it has its own internal logic. I don't support it. It's contrary to the U.S. Constitution. I think it's wrong. But that has kind of been the view that he has always supported. Now, those types of people will find that there are particular monarchs that they don't support. Just because you're supportive of monarchy doesn't mean you like that particular king. And so Barr found himself in a bit of a catch-22 at the end of his career, that the opportunity that he had to finally put his vision of government into effect only came about because a completely crazy person gave him that opportunity. And so he still went for it, forgetting the fact that he wouldn't be in that position if the person were actually capable of handling the powers that he wanted to give him.
Yeah, and William Barr was out of the Trump administration by December 15th, and the lies about widespread voter fraud did not begin the conflict experienced by Trump and William Barr. Things really started to get dicey between the two during the civil unrest that took place over the last summer. That was following the murder of George Floyd, and all the protests that followed it. And so Trump really wanted to use the military to squash those demonstrations. And apparently that was the first time William Barr kind of realized, oh, this guy is a little unhinged. I mean, I'm putting words in his mouth, but essentially he realized, okay, this guy can be pretty dangerous. And so Axios reports that when Trump wanted to invoke the Insurrection Act and send military into cities, from his seat behind the Resolute desk, an agitated Trump told Barr to go and do something and to do it right away, make an announcement, send in the troops, something. Barr asked, what was the end game for adding the military to the mix? What could these soldiers do? Barr pointed out, just stand around and get yelled at. Trump didn't care, we look weak and this is hurting us, he ranted. Then he slammed his hand on the Resolute desk. And of course, William Barr didn't go along with his, obsession with investigating the Bidens, all of that never really came to fruition, which is what Trump was hoping for. But yeah, any final thoughts on this, Ryan?
Well, yeah, what's then so sociopathic about Barr is that despite all of those disagreements that he had with Trump, why does he stick around as long as he does? So that he can reanimate the federal death penalty. What a psychopath! Like that was the thing that he dedicated his final weeks and months to, making sure that executions that had been stalled for so long took place, including among a number of forget the justice of the death penalty to begin with, people who very well may have been innocent, and some people who were barely involved in the crimes they were executed for. So what a sicko.
Yeah.
Thanks for watching The Young Turks. Really appreciate it. Another way to show support is through YouTube memberships. You'll get to interact with us more. There's live chat emojis, badges. You've got emojis of me, Anna, John, JR. So those are super fun. But you also get playback of our exclusive member-only shows and specials right after they air. So all of that, all you gotta do is click that join button right underneath the video. Thank you.